Alright, so you're looking at a bunch of boxes and you're probably thinking, what the hell is this? Well, Driftwood wanted to see a video on my how I store my collection, look at some of my favorite decks and so on. So this is how I store my decks. So this is my Astruzhna decks, my three most powerful decks, my three strongest decks. The ones I can't really play in Prague because they just dominate the table. This is Animar, Aurelia, Edgar Markov, Edric, and Frodo and Sam. Number 2 is Gladriel, Ikushidiki Sidarkando, Harobi. Who comes after Harobi? I think it's Kervek, Kenrith, and this will be Kestia, my enchantment deck, Korvald, Muldratha, Nelia, Nekuzar, and number 4 down here is Saskia, Sigarda, Sig, Tivar, and Voya. Out of these decks, so Frodo and Sam and Gladriel, I don't feel like are my decks because they're just precons. I didn't modify the Lord of the Rings cards. Of course, by only modifying the Lord of the Rings cards, the power level is limited. They cannot have fetch lands, shock lands, Vora Stronghold. You have my Hollow. Any of the more effective cards I tend to play. They just simply can't have them because of the rules I set myself. Out of the other decks, so with the recent retirement of Carador, I no longer have a weak deck that I built myself. All of the decks I built myself are strong. My 2 weakest decks are now the precons. And all of them are mine, except Voya. Voya feels like a test that I passed by cheating. Because you take a bunch of wolves. You take a bunch of elves, you stack them up, you add land, you smash face. That's Voya. It's really effective. Edgar Markov is close to that, but because I chose vampires I like myself, I chose the ones that I want to play, he still feels like my deck. I still can fool myself into thinking that he's effective because of the way I built him. Although I still maintain if you give somebody €100 and a copy of Edgar Markov, in a week they will smash the table. You just stack up vampires, you throw in some other effects, and you beat the shit out of everybody. These other 2 boxes, 5 and 6. So this is my modern and vintage. 6 is my modern and vintage extra cards. So these are all basic lands I've reserved for modern and vintage. Pull a few of these out so you can see them. So modern and vintage, since I don't need as many basic lands. For example, some of the decks only have 2 forests, 2 mountains, and then 4 shock lands, 4 fetch lands, other utility lands. They don't need as many, so I don't have that many sitting aside. My commander decks, I probably should have got the basic land box too to show you how I store that. So I've got a box of basic lands for commander. Actually, let me get that. So I'll get it in a minute so you can see it. So since vintage and modern don't require as many basic lands of any one type, I still have some. For example, these mountains. I've got how many? 7 of these for every color. So if I want to run these, when I put basic lands in the deck, I like them to be from the same set or to be visually similar, to go together. And I like them all to be the same. I don't like it when I've got, if I had a deck with 2 of these, 2 of these, and 6 of these, I wouldn't like it. Because when I'm playing my lands, the basic lands don't match. That's just a personal choice I make. So these are more mountains. Now, if I run a mono red deck and I need a bunch of basic lands, because we're not running that many utility lands, then I still have some available. So I've got anywhere, like you saw the upper part, these are the low numbered lands. So there's 4 of those, 3 of these because one is in a deck, 4 of these, 4 of these, 4 of these, and then I've got extra cards, more quantity of different art, of different basic lands. These, the reason I don't have many of these is they're not cheap anymore. Excuse me. They, I've got my snow-covered forest in some modern vintage deck. I'm not sure which one. I should quit. Let me tilt the camera down a bit, because I tend to keep moving my hands down. So that's the basic lands for modern and vintage. Then the other thing I do in the boxes is, this is just a starter deck box, and I've got different ones, and I pack it with the lands that I'm actually using. So for example, when I built Sharoom, I took all the extra basic lands. So she needed like 6 swamps. So the other swamps I took out of my basic land box so I wouldn't use them in another deck. Islands the same, plains are the same. These forest and plains, these are Sigarda. So I took them out so I wouldn't use them in another deck. So every deck has its, it helps give it its own identity if I don't use the same basic lands across my decks. And this is all these Rebecca Gay lands. These are all for Voya. So what I do is I put them in this box carefully. And what it does is it takes up the space. Otherwise, the cards get loose, easy to move, and what happens is the foils can start curling. They can start curving. So by taking up the space and squishing them together, it keeps the foils from curling. So I keep my modern and vintage cards sleeved in the perfect fit, so they're pretty much always ready to go. So these are all modern and vintage lands that I'm not using in a deck right now, although I have started raiding them for my commander decks. For example, Hollowed Fenton, I'm probably going to raid that pretty soon. Excuse me. 4 Misty Rainforest, because I recently retired. I retired my 2 weakest decks from Modern and Commander. I retired Carador, and I retired Troll Worship, which had become Bant Four Swords. I went ahead and retired it because it just wasn't getting there. Just wasn't cutting it. I still don't know what set this is. There's some anthologies, some supplemental printing, but I'm not sure exactly what set that's from. Watery Graves, because I don't have any black or blue vintage. Well, I wouldn't play Shocklands in vintage. I have no black and blue modern deck. I thought about building one, but nothing really interested me. The swords from Bant Four Swords. Extra card. These have been superseded, so these are kind of obsolete. But I keep them around because I like them. I like them. I've got a set of 4 of them. And I keep having ideas of building a Naya Zoo deck and playing with them just because. Just because I like them. So what else? For example, this is starting black and blue, so Fatal Push. I don't use them that much anymore. Inquisition of Kozilek. I don't have any kind of discard decks. I'm not using them right now. Merfolk Sideboard. Merfolk Potential. I have a set of 4, but one of them is in... Did I put it in Edric? I gave one of my commander decks one of these signed foil Master Waves. So, like I said, I've been raiding my modern and vintage collection for commander decks. I've got 3 of her in my modern Merfolk deck. I could run 4, but I don't like running 4 legends in a 60 card deck because of the high likelihood I'm going to pull an extra one and then maybe a third one and not be able to get it down, not be able to do anything with it. Although with the flare of, not flare of denial, force of negations I have in Merfolk, it probably doesn't matter. So I still have a fourth one in case I decide that I should run a fourth one. Anyway, that's modern extra cards. We'll set that to the side. Box number 5, these are modern decks. So I keep all my modern decks in one box. It used to be Merfolk was in its own box because this deck can only hold 7 sleeved, ready-to-play decks. 60-card modern decks with sideboards. And when I had the Bant 4 swords, of course that took up the 7th slot. But then with its retirement, I was able to put Merfolk in the box with everybody else. And what that gives me is when I go to Ostruzhna, so I take my modern decks and I take my Ostruzhna commander decks because sometimes we play modern. And Merfolk I wasn't taking because it was in its own separate box. I didn't want to take too much stuff. But now I just grab this box and I've got everybody. So this is my modern Merfolk. It's got 4 force and negation, which, I don't know. I keep thinking I should sell 1 or 2 of them and get Flare of Denials. I want to get Flare of Denials for this deck. I haven't yet. Still running Deep Root Pilgrimage. I see that Nikachu is no longer running these in his tournament-winning Merfolk decks. But I just don't keep up on the metagame that quickly with modern. I really don't need to because the lads I play with, they don't either. So sometimes we play modern in Prague. We always play some modern in Ostruzhna. And none of the guys I play with they build their decks and then that's it. They just leave it. They don't update it that often. Their commander decks they'll update once in a while. The modern decks, no. So I've got no pressure to really make this tuned for the current metagame of modern. But I like it. This is my longest running modern deck. The one I do maintain, if I maintain any of them. I have a lot of good memories of playing with Merfolk. So if I went to a tournament, if I had time, this is what I would take. I would take Merfolk to a modern tournament. My LGS Journey Retige, they do modern tournaments every Monday, but they start at 5 o'clock. What time do I get off work? 5 o'clock. Do I have time to get there before they start? No. That, and I think the entry fee is something like 300 crowns. And since I don't practice much, my deck is not tuned properly for the current metagame. I really don't want to bust my ass, leave work 30 minutes early, get there, pay 300 crowns, and join a tournament to get my ass kicked. Not a whole lot of incentive there. This is the sideboard for Merfolk. So I don't think this is used in the sideboard at all. In an actual tournament playable Merfolk deck. I had him in here years ago. Got him when he first came out because I thought, wow, that's great. But of course, Spyloon is better than him in the main, so she took his place in the main deck. But I still keep 2 just because sometimes they work. Against Burn, they're pretty good. So against Burn, side these guys in. Makes it more expensive for the Burn player to lightning bolt my creatures. Makes it more expensive for anybody with white and Path to exile my creatures. Yes, a full set of 4 Thieving Skydivers. I don't think any Merfolk deck is playing this. This is actually in here because of the Genie. The Genie has modern decks, and he's got one that runs a lot of artifacts, like the Ozolith, and I like stealing it. He doesn't like it when I steal it, but I do. Percasol. So this is Spell Pierce. Vapor Snag. This I actually need to take out. The reason this was in here, and this is not a super metagame, a global metagame decision to have in the sideboard. This is a localized metagame decision for the sideboard. Because against Troll Worship, I could, and then Bant 4 swords, I could get the player down to 1 life. But if he's hiding behind worship and I can't touch his creatures, I can't kill him with Merfolk. I just can't do it. It doesn't get there. But as has been proven in an actual game, where a friend of mine was playing my Tor worship deck, and he got me in that situation where I couldn't kill him, and he can't die, he played a Noble Hierarch, and he was on 1 life. And this is after sideboarding. I was like, oh, I'm going to bounce your Noble Hierarch to your hand, and you lose your last life, and you die. He's like, oh, shit. And he didn't even really need the Noble Hierarch. He just put her down, so when he attacks me, he's got an extra exalted trigger. These are packed pretty tightly, as you can see. So the foils do not crinkle, they do not curve, they do not do any of that bullshit. But what I've got is, this is Absent Evolution, Modern. And the way I built these, a friend of mine gave me these sleeves, and he said, I'll give you these sleeves, but you have to use them. Okay, free sleeves. And my daughter loves it. Emma she fucking loves these sleeves. So, Absent Evolution, what it's trying to do is get down something like a Kitchen Finks, Voice of Resurgence, and then play Absent Evolution, kill it, it'll come back, Voice of Resurgence will come back as a token, Kitchen Finks, of course, comes back, gives me 2 more life, and I can go find a creature card with mana cost X or less, where that's 2 plus the sacrifice creatures cost, and put it in play. Then I have to exile this. I was forgetting to exile this for the longest time. Not that I can get it back, but I need to follow the rules, and it says exile this. I should do it. So, if I sacrifice a Voice of Resurgence, I can go find a Shalai, Voice of Plenty. I can find a Siege Rhino, which I'm still running. To give you more background, I've talked about this before, and I recommend any of you wanting some kind of different games to try this. All of these decks, except for Merfolk, are based on decks that won tournaments that were in the top 8. Now, last time I did it, I said 2 or 3 years ago. Now it's 3 to 5 years ago. For example, Soul Sisters down here. This deck has not been in the modern meta for a long time. And I have upgraded it, I have changed it so it's more effective in my meta. But all the cards are cheap. None of them, he's kind of expensive. He's about €15 because he's the special treatment. But you can get flat Souls Attendants, you can get flat Soul Wardens. I've got foil Voice of the Blessed, but you can get flat ones for next to nothing. So you can build this deck. He's probably not that much anymore either. You could build this deck for probably, €50. And it's effective. It's a lot of fun. But I would not take it to any serious modern tournament because I get my ass kicked. But in my local metagame, it's perfectly fine. And they're designed to play against each other. For example, if I'm playing, so a friend comes over, or I know only one guy is coming to the Thursday night event because of family matters for the other lads, work, other events, life happens. So if it's only one guy going to show up, I will bring my modern decks because playing 1v1 Commander, it's not very satisfying with the decks we have. It's just not. Especially if I'm playing a newer player and I've got all my decks and I'm just going to stomp the shit out of them, and I don't want to do that. So like I showed you with the Thieving Skydivers, these decks are designed to play against each other, so I don't have a deck that dominates the others. All of them have a roughly equal chance of winning. So this is Absent Evolution, this is Bant Nightfall. Some of you probably never heard about this deck. So what this deck wants to do is play Knight of the Reliquary, and let's see if I can find it. Retreat to Corahelm. So Knight of the Reliquary, Sacrifice Forest or Plains, search your library for land card, put it in play, then shuffle your library. Retreat to core help, landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield under your control, choose one. You may tap or untap target creature. So I can keep untapping her and keep sacrificing lands and then attack. Attack with 20 lands in my library, in my graveyard. So she's a 22/22. That's what this deck is trying to do. Hello! So it's a combo deck. All the other decks are more straightforward. This is... What is this? Absent Evolution, Bent Nightfall, Burn, Death and Taxes, which I need to get Eldrazi Temples for. I realize those are really good in the deck, so I need to get them. Maybe Wasteland Stranglers, Merfolk, Soul Sisters, and Squirrels. This is my Squirrels deck. Yeah, that's what that one is. So that's modern. These are my Astruzna decks. These are my most powerful, strongest commander decks. So this is Azami, Brego, and Sharum recently joined the party by me taking out, I forgot what I took out. Excuse me. But I put in Disciple of the Vault. So Sharum has a 3-card instant kill combo, which I can't search for Disciple of the Vault, so I still feel okay with it. So Azami is tribal wizards, tribal elves. She is strong. I can't play her in Prague because I just take over the table. Was it fun?
Yeah. Yes, it was. We thought we did something very useful. And we collected as much rubbish as the whale weighs.
Which whale? The blue whale?
Well, Chris thinks we collected over a ton. There was like
a ton of rubbish?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Well, he calculated because it was not measured precisely.
Yeah. So my wife and daughter, they just came home. They went to this. My daughter's in Scouts. They went to the Scout event where they were trying to collect enough rubbish, and this is all scouting organizations associated with the parent group, Europe-wide. Tried to collect enough rubbish from the streets and the parks of various cities to collectively equal the weight of a whale. That's what they tried to do.
Probably a full cut.
Oh, wow, there it is.
I hope it's not a blue whale.
Well, if you collect enough rubbish to meet a blue whale's weight, then that's pretty good, isn't it?
Yes.
You keep saying you don't want it to be that much, but the more you collect, the better the city looks, right?
Yeah, but if we're supposed to collect so
around
much.
the town. There was just 1 yard.
Yeah, but I bet the yard was pretty filthy.
Well,
Yes.
I have a lot of photos.
Okay.
Chris asked me to take photos.
It was disgusting.
Yes, it was. Do we have lunch ready?
Yeah, let me just finish this part of the video, and then I'll do it. So that's Azami, and you saw one of the, let me show you, yeah, everything's in here tight, so that way the foils don't crinkle. I'm looking for the #1 card of the deck. Where is he? Now you're probably at, what the hell is this in here for? This is in here for Will Breaker. If you have Will Breaker, she says whenever a creature your opponent controls becomes a target of her spell or ability you control, you steal it. So if Will Breaker is in play, for 1 blue, I can instantly steal every creature because they target them all. Where is the #1 card in the deck now? There's the Will Breaker. Creature an opponent controls, target spell ability you control, you gain control as long as you control her. So yeah, Edric has the other Master Waves because Azami has her own coat of arms. There he is, Patron Wizard. If I get him down, it's pretty much game over. Triple blue for a 2/2 wizard, tap and untap wizard you control. And it doesn't matter if they have summoning sickness or not. You just tap them and counterspell unless somebody pays 1. So you have to be careful. You know, make sure that the spell you're countering is worth countering. But anything worth countering, if you've got, say, 5 wizards, and somebody casts something big, they either have to cut it back, they have to wait, or you will simply make them pay more and it won't go off. Even if they pay, the deck still has counter spells, actual spells, mana drain, counter spell, foil, sacrifice a wizard, counter this. I can just outright counter it. So I can make them pay more and then just outright counter it. Crawl space. So these are the decks I cannot play in Prague because, I mean, I could, but the ones I play with aren't going to like it, and to be fair, I'm not going to like it either because I don't want to just stomp the shit out of people. So let's take a look at one of these, and then I need to cut it off for lunch. Okay, so this is box number 3, and Driftwood wanted to, he asked, well, what about your favorite decks? I don't really have a favorite deck per se. My favorite deck at any one time is typically the deck that I've changed most recently, and I want to tune it to really get it to work. And with the retirement of Carador, for example, under the old system, none of us ever said, my deck's a 7, my deck's... We never said that. We joked about it, but we just sat down to play. And our conversation for Rule 0 was like, okay, what kind of game are we going to have? I want to play Moldy. And Cube would say, okay, I'm playing Big Eldrazi because I know Moldy is strong. All right. Or if I play something like Ikrashitiki Star Kondo, and Cube will not play Eldrazi because he will stomp us. But now, under the bracket system, all my decks are bracket 3, all of them. Except officially Edric, he's bracket 4 because of the Winter Orb, but he's not. The card, according to the strict interpretation of the rules, Winter Orb puts him into bracket 4, but he doesn't play like that. He doesn't absolutely dominate the table. I need the Winter Orb because he's full of small creatures, and I need to slow everybody else down. But anyway, with the Moldrata, and I'll just go over this quickly and then cut it off and probably splice part 2 in. So the way I built mine, originally she was Marin. So a lot of my decks evolved from other decks. She was Marin 8 years ago. Yeah, some time ago. I've been playing for a while. So 8 years ago or so, no, 10 years ago, holy shit. I had Marin a long time ago. And she was really effective. But then, with more random graveyard hate, more people able to exile my graveyard, she became weak. She couldn't stand up anymore. And then when Moldrata was printed, I realized I can use the same black-green strategies in Marin, but blue allows me to protect my graveyard. See, that's Marin the Gravetide. Is she pretty?
She's scary.
So blue gives me Siren Stormtamer.
Blue gives you water.
Well, it also gives you air, and gives you Siren Stormtamer. Look. You can sacrifice Siren Stormtamer to counter a spell or ability that targets you or creature control. So somebody is going to Bajuka Bog you, they target you, and you can sacrifice her. Bajuka Bog. Bajuka Bog. So she's got at least 5. I recently played around with it, but at least 5 cards that are solely there to protect my graveyard, because she's going to be dumping things into my graveyard, so I can cast them out of my graveyard, so I can beat people in the head. Like this Breathstealer's Crypt. Whenever any player draws a card, they reveal it. If it's a creature card, they pay 3 life or throw it in the graveyard. Okay, the battery's going to die anyway, so let me... Oh, wait, there's the newest addition to my suite of protection. Flashy Wizard, when he flashes into play, counter spell ability or triggered ability, its controller draws a card. It doesn't have to target me, I can just counter it, so he's pretty versatile. Alright, let me cut this one off and I'll splice into part 2 later.